Congratulations on getting this far in the course. We've covered a lot, and hopefully at this point you could take any Vagrant file and kind of get going. If, say, you're working in a team or you're cloning it from the internet, we've covered building our own little lamp set, or not lamp setup, but our own little web server setup with Apache by individually going through all the different 5 core settings and installing Apache manually and then syncing everything. And then we went and destroyed that and automated that process with a single Vagrant file, which we have here now. And then we just have we put it all in an install script. So what I want to do is, and I've already started a little bit, is I want to build a lamp stack with you. And what that means is we're going to put not just Apache, but we're going to make sure PHP loads. We're going to make sure MySQL is installed, so we have a database to access, and we're going to build it from scratch because that's awesome. So a few things happened before I did all of this. One thing was I changed the box to a higher version of Ubuntu. The reason for doing this is if we install PHP or MySQL, we'll get higher versions automatically without having to manually ask for them. And I like the creators of these guys, the Bento people, so I trust their box. It's small and it's widely downloaded. And then the only other thing I did was I created a gitignore where I'm going to just kind of prep this for pushing it up to GitHub so you guys can download it as part of the project files. And I moved everything to a public folder where I have an H1 with lamp and a PHP info, and we're trying to get a PHP file to run. I'm actually going to delete this though. I don't think this is in the right spot. Let's put it here. We're not going to be moving any folders. So we'll just keep it as it is, like this, like kind of how we had it before. All right, so let's start writing our lamp setup. Now there's going to be a couple parts here. Part 1 is going to be core stuff. I'm just going to keep using the word stuff, and the next item is going to be, which you could just say is like Linux for like lamp. Actually, that might be better. Linux stuff. And we'll do like Apache stuff. We're building a lamp stack. MySQL stuff. And we're going to break this down. So the final item is your PHP items. So the only thing is, this is a bash file, so those comments don't work. I just updated them. And then I think I'm just going to, even though it's out of order from LAMP, I'm going to install MySQL last. All right, so let's go through the rounds here. We'll go one by one, and then by the end of this, we'll have a perfectly working LAMP stack. I'm going to be cheating a little bit. No, I don't think a lot of people know how to do any of these from scratch by themselves. I have copy and pasted some code. If you want to challenge yourself to learn how to do this on your own, search DigitalOcean LAMP Ubuntu in Google. They have a great tutorial for setting up your first server, and they'll actually take you through setting up even if you wanted to do like a production server. It's pretty neat, and you could practice on a Vagrant box if you wanted. All right, but for me, I already have my own little cheating that I'm going to be doing. So first thing we need to do, these boxes that are on Vagrant Cloud, they're usually stripped of as much cache or data as possible, just so that they're smaller. So the first thing we need to do is update the packages because they've probably been cleared out or purged before they were uploaded. The next thing we need to do is just install anything that we want that is part of our standard environment. So if I want to install Vim, I could. If I wanted to do Git, I could. But I'll actually separate this into separate. I'm going to separate these into different lines just so we can see line by line all the different activity that's happening. Probably will make debugging a little easier if I mess something up. That's all the basic Linux stuff I want for now. Apache is the next thing that I'm going to install. And you've seen this code already before. Just sudo apt-get. We're going to use the yes flag to force any prompts, and then install Apache too. Pretty standard. The only thing I'm going to add to that is these are all just commands that you would run building a server. Is HTML5 recommended Apache settings. This just, in case we want to do something with our htaccess files, since we are doing LAMP. All right, let's move on to PHP. So PHP is installed very similar. If you've never built a server before, hopefully you could guess what the next line is going to be. It's sudo apt-get install PHP. And that will probably be 7, which is neat. All right. And the next thing we need to do is we need to make PHP and Apache friends. I'm not going to go into the details of what's happening here. And to be honest, I don't know it completely myself, but I do know you have to install this library. So this will make sure PHP and Apache work together. We have to tell Apache, this essentially is telling Apache to be able to read PHP scripts. And then finally, just for good measure, I'm going to manually reboot Apache because I just want to make sure everything is running smooth, and I don't want to have to run a Vagrant reload after I provision. There's other PHP things you can do. So like, for example, I always like to do like base stuff, which I'm copying and pasting over. That's just like your core PHP modules. So like additional modules that you want added to your PHP. We could do manually go through and install anything useful that we wanted, like mcrypt, zip, XML, whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. It's just showing you how we're kind of approaching this. And finally, that leaves us with our MySQL. So this one's a little bit more complicated if you aren't like a Bash pro. I'm going to paste the whole thing here and we'll go through this. So since we're running this through Bash and not through like any of those advanced provisioning things, we need to set a username and a password for our MySQL server. And so this is what we're doing with these 2 lines here, and we're setting them as root. So our username and our password will be root. Okay. The next line that I want to do is install MySQL server. So it's a little bit different than just that. You have to install the full server. And then we're going to have this line here, which is, I never really do MySQL commands from the command line, but what this is just saying run, log in with the root user, the default root user with the password root, which is what we set here before installing. And we're creating a database called Scotchbox. You could skip this if you wanted to, not necessary, but I'm going to leave it. And I'll show you why in a second. And then we need to make PHP and MySQL friends by installing the PHP module, just like we did here for these. And then finally, let's just reboot Apache as good measure. And hopefully after this would all run, if no errors happen, we should get a PHP stack. I don't know what's going to happen, so I'll debug with you if anything breaks. Let's make sure we don't have any virtual machines running. And then let's run. Let me kill off that cached file, and then let's run Vagrant up and see what happens. And I'll watch this just all the way through and kind of talk through what's going on. All right, so we've seen this way too many times. We're importing the box. If you're following along, you're probably going to have to download that if you don't have it already. All the port forwarding stuff's happening. The SSH port forwarding stuff is happening. It mounted it to It mounted it to our VirtualBox. It sunk the folders. And, oh, well, we already have one issue. I'll show you that in a second. And then now it's going through one by one and going through all these things. So we're about at installing PHP right now. So I would bet you sudo apt-get install PHP just ran. And now we were installing all these common modules. That's all those. Really nice little trick to get a good, healthy amount of them. And you can see it's PHP 7. Go farther down. It's going so fast I can't even keep up. Looks like we're doing more modules. And it looks like we're now onto MySQL stuff. So it's actually creating our database or our MySQL server 5.7. And we're getting all these errors. What is this? Oh, I see it's a warning. Just we're using the password root from the command line. It's saying don't do that. That would be the same thing if you did that just through terminal regularly. But we don't care. It's a dev environment, and we're not going to use this in production at all. All right, so that worked pretty good. One thing you can see is this was created. My gut says our folders are not synced. Well, let's see what happens when we visit supercool.local. Nothing, because everything's supposed to be here. So if I'm, oh yeah, cool. All right, so I just made the mistake of thinking this was here. So let's just rename this to PHP. Let's paste this and delete this file. Now, this HTML folder is the default for Apache. I like to call mine public, and so does many other frameworks. You could add here to your Apache script to rewrite that if you wanted to. I'm not going to do it for this demo, but if we go here now to supercool.local, we get LAMP with PHP 7 running our Ubuntu, and it has all those modules that we added. So if we search like mcrypt, that's installed, zip, that's installed, and MySQL is linked up. Now, how do we add a database though? Like, is there PHP MyAdmin? How do we connect? So let me show you a trick where I have here a test database. This is through SQL Pro. If you are on Windows, you probably should be using Navicat. The other alternative is you could just connect through the command line or install PHP MyAdmin, but I recommend this method. It's definitely going to be the best. So how the heck do we connect to the database? We're going to use a trick called SSH port forwarding. So Vagrant SSH config. We're going to use that Vagrant command to connect to the database by first username Vagrant, password is Vagrant. Otherwise, I could just reference the private key file. SSH port is 2222. See if that even works. Cool. And now we just need to do database. So it's like our database, we just set up a default setup. Remember, we did username, password as a root. And database, I'll leave blank, even though we created one called Scotchbox, similar to how I was doing it on Scotchbox. So let's show detail here. Why is this not connecting? Oh, I'm getting weird errors from doing too much crazy stuff. So let me connect now. Yes, I accept the connection. And I'm connected now to my virtual machine where I can access the Scotchbox database. This is really cool because I could just import a database if I wanted to in my PHP script. I could do something like, I don't even know how to connect manually. It would be like database equals Scotchbox. And whatever thing you're using, you could just connect this way. And I think the local host would be, or whatever they call it, the host would be 127.01. So now if I had a PHP application, I could connect manually to my database as well as access it through SQL Pro so I can actually manage it and do development. We just created a LAMP stack. That's really cool. And we even did a proof of concept with demo. You can see how now you can run with this. I'm going to push this code up to the GitHub repo so you can download this and extend this if you want to, or at the very least mess with it. Besides that, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I definitely like Vagrant and I've been using it for a long time and I don't see myself switching anytime soon. There are new other cool tools out there that exist. Go ahead and check out the conclusion for additional resources if you're interested in that. Thanks.